Wednesday, February 5th edition of the Carolina Weather Video. Meteorologist Matthew East here with you. Now, yesterday morning we had a big difference in temperature compared to 24 hours before. This time around it's warmer off to the west of the mountains, but our temperatures around here very similar to what we had at this juncture yesterday. A lot of drizzle and fog and more rain heading on into the region. I'll show you the radar in just a second. It was a chilly day yesterday. Some of these highs you see occurred very early in the morning. Our daytime highs across a good chunk of the foothills in the Piedmont right around 39 to 41 degrees as temperatures were very chilly through the majority of the day. Now, currently it's 30s in Charlotte, Greensboro, Raleigh, and Greenville, Richmond. A little warmer in the mountains. That's a lot of times what happens when you have one of these cold air damming setups in place. The lower elevations actually chillier than some of the higher elevations. Now there's the radar. Let's look at the Greenville Spartanburg NextRadar Level 2 data. Looking at a pretty good area of rain eastern Georgia, the upstate of South Carolina into the mountains, and that batch of rain continuing to work eastward. And this is the final round of rain with this current storm system. That'll be sweeping through this morning. Snow covering a good chunk of the northeast. Then you hit some ice in Maryland, southern Pennsylvania, northern Virginia, northeastern West Virginia, some snow back through Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, and Michigan this morning. Even Missouri and Iowa have seen snow. And the winter weather aspect of this system staying off to our north. Here's the overall setup today. Low pressure riding up into southern Ohio and West Virginia. The trailing cold front inbound, and that'll continue to drive the showers eastward and through our area. And here's what it looks like on the Futurecast modeling. Notice by this afternoon, some sunshine. And that will allow for a brief, milder day before we head into a more sustained, chilly period ahead. So here's the surface map. Wedge erodes away with time, and that front sweeps everything out off to the east. We should see a pretty good amount of afternoon sunshine today. And then watch what happens tomorrow night. A little area of low pressure offshore. Some upper level energy moves in. Some modeling wants to crank some light snow, namely the Canadian model, over parts of the Piedmont Thursday night and Friday morning. I'll show you that in more detail in just a second, but most models are dry. And then we kind of await the weekend. Now, speaking of the weekend, the picture coming into a little better focus, that's the European model solution. Low pressure tucked close enough Saturday to the coast to throw precipitation pretty far inland. And in the northwest Piedmont and the northern foothills, let me go back to that chart real quick. In the northwest Piedmont and the northern foothills, it's actually cold enough aloft that you have some of that precip fall in the form of snow. But that's pretty much the only one of the major models indicating snow Saturday. But it is the European, and so you get a little bit more weight to that. I'll show you some more details on that coming up in just a second. Very quickly, there's your ski resort information. A lot of wet conditions with the rain, but fantastic ski conditions ahead as the colder air and even some natural snow settles back in. All right, here's a look at the European upper air chart. This is valid Friday evening. And I tell you what, there has been more changes with this weekend storm system really than I can remember, at least in recent memory, with the modeling leading up to a storm system. The models have really struggled to get a handle on this one, but the picture getting a little clearer. That's, again, Friday evening. Piece of energy over Texas, and the result at the surface here on the European is that. Okay, so low pressure just off the South Carolina and Georgia coast Saturday morning. At the same time, there's your 850 millibar temperatures down to I-40 and then down to around Shelby, south of Asheville, sub-zero up at 850 millibars. And so, roughly speaking, that's indicating a little bit of snow with that in the northern fringes of the precipitation shield. Okay, but let's look at the other computer modeling here. Let's go to the Canadian model. There's what it indicates Saturday evening. The precip never really makes it that far westward. And let's see the GFS. This was the 0Z run, and I just got a peek at the 6Z run. It's pretty similar with the weekend system. The precip makes it into the eastern Carolinas. And that's about it. Not far enough west to produce any snow of significance. Now, I need to mention this very quickly. Tomorrow night, Thursday night and Friday morning, there's the Canadian model. It's the model that's indicating a little bit of precipitation there in the form of some snow in some areas. There's the regional Canadian view, and notice it briefly brings a little bit of snow to parts of the upstate, Charlotte, Greensboro, Raleigh, but again, it's kind of alone at the moment in that scenario for Thursday night and Friday morning. We'll see how it plays out. Now, growing interest with the goings-on next week. Let's go back over here to the European modeling. Eventually, late week, you end up with that. That's Thursday night on the European. Let's look at the surface charts here. This is 168 hours. This is Tuesday evening. That's the European. Okay, let me grab the GFS. It is really fairly similar in terms of the placement of the precipitation. And that is in the form of some snow across northern and western North Carolina. And the European is, again, similar overall with the temperature profile aloft. There's your surface temperatures on the European, sub-freezing all the way down into northeast Georgia as that precip is spreading in. So again, there's 168 hours. That's Tuesday evening on the European. Here is Wednesday morning on the European model. Okay, now let's check the GFS. There's 168 hours. Again, there's your 850 temperature sub-freezing. We go out to 192 hours. That is Wednesday evening, and yeah, I mean, that's an interesting look. Low pressure in the northern Gulf of Mexico. Aloft, there's your 850 millibar temperature, still down to below freezing to roughly I-40. Your surface temperature is below freezing in much of the western and northern parts of North Carolina. And then at 204 hours, look at that. That's just your classic Miller A low pressure area located off the Carolina coast. At that point in time, your surface temperatures are sub-freezing deep down into South Carolina. And so that's certainly something interesting to keep an eye on for Tuesday and Wednesday. Interesting that you have such a similar look with the precipitation fields late Tuesday and Tuesday night. There's the European, and again, there's the GFS. I haven't seen the 60 yet that far out, but interesting that the look is pretty similar on both of those systems. Finally, before we move on, this is the WPC manually drawn chart for Sunday morning, indicating your low pressures near the coast. And finally, this is out at Wednesday, as that system kind of holding off to the southwest, but moisture streaking out ahead of it, so that's something to watch for next week. Oh yeah, one more thing. There's the Canadian model for 168 hours. It too brings that precipitation in Tuesday, and some of that is definitely in the form of wintry precip, at least in North Carolina. So something interesting to watch for next week too. All right, that is it for today's edition of the video. Everybody have a great day, and God bless.